We live in a world that constantly asks, do they like me? We check our phones for likes, wait for compliments, and shape our words carefully to win approval from people we may not even truly respect. But here's the truth the Stoics knew centuries ago: the more you seek validation, the more you give away your power. Epictetus once said, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. Why? Because the moment you start living for praise, you stop living for truth. Seeking validation might feel harmless, even motivating, but over time, it turns you into a slave to opinion. Today, we're diving deep into the Stoic understanding of why the pursuit of external validation is a dangerous trap and how to break free from it. You'll learn how needing approval from others makes you weaker, more anxious, and less in control of your life. And more importantly, we'll uncover how to reclaim your sense of inner worth through Stoic wisdom and self-mastery. This isn't just a lesson in philosophy, it is a practical call to rise above the noise. Walk your path with conviction and discover the power of not needing to be liked. Let's begin. The illusion of approval. Why validation is a moving target. Most people don't realize this, but seeking validation is like chasing the wind. You never quite catch it, and even when you think you do, it slips away just as fast. One moment, you're praised, the next, you're criticized. Opinions change. Crowds are fickle. And if your self-worth is tied to what others think, then your identity becomes fragile. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius warned, it never ceases to amaze me, we all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Isn't that strange? We spend our lives trying to impress people who are also lost, insecure, and distracted. Yet we give their opinions more weight than our own values. Here's the truth. Validation is a trap because it's never truly about others, it's about your fear of not being enough. The need for validation feeds off insecurity. It thrives when you haven't defined your own standards. And over time, it becomes a habit that controls how you speak, dress, work, and live. Think about it. How many decisions have you made not because you believed in them, but because you wanted someone else to approve? That's not freedom. That's quiet imprisonment. The Stoic approach urges us to turn inward. Instead of asking, what will they think of me? Ask, what do I think of myself, based on reason and virtue? That's the shift. That's where real power begins. Because once you stop seeking to be validated by others, something incredible happens. You begin to validate yourself. You stop performing and start living. You stop pleasing and start aligning with purpose. And that's when the world starts to take notice. Ironically, it's often when you no longer need approval that you gain the deepest respect. The psychology behind the need for validation. To overcome the need for validation, we must first understand where it comes from and why it runs so deep. From childhood, most of us were conditioned to believe that approval equals worth. When we pleased our parents, we were rewarded. When we disobeyed, we were punished or ignored. Over time, this creates a mental loop. If I act a certain way, people will like me. If they like me, I matter. This mindset quietly follows us into adulthood. Now add social media to the mix. A world where hearts, likes, retweets, and shares become the new currency of self-esteem. Every notification reinforces the idea that your value is determined by external applause. You start performing, not living, editing your life, not experiencing it. But here's what the Stoics would ask: who owns your peace, others or you? Epictetus taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. Similarly, it is not the rejection or silence of others that truly hurts, it is the meaning you assign to it. You believe their lack of praise means you're not good enough. But that belief is optional. Once you realize that validation seeking is a learned behavior, you can begin to unlearn it. You can stop outsourcing your self-worth. The Stoic way is about turning inward to reason, to virtue, to character. When your identity is anchored in something internal, no external rejection can shake you. So next time you catch yourself wondering, did they like me? Pause. Ask instead, did I live according to my principles? Did I act with courage, discipline, wisdom, and justice? If the answer is yes, that's all the validation you'll ever need. That's how a Stoic builds unshakable confidence from the inside out. How seeking validation weakens your inner power. Every time you seek validation, you give away a piece of your power. It sounds harmless, even polite to care what others think, to want to be liked. But slowly, and almost without noticing, you begin to shape yourself for the expectations of others. You laugh when you're not amused. You stay silent when you should speak. You chase approval and avoid rejection, not because it's right but because it's safe. The Stoics saw this as a dangerous compromise. Marcus Aurelius warned, "The approval of others is a poor substitute for one's own integrity." When you rely on external validation, you become reactive. You wait to be told you're good enough, instead of knowing it within. You depend on others to define your value, and that makes you vulnerable. You start to fear criticism. You fear standing out. You water yourself down to fit in. But fitting in is not strength, it's self-abandonment. The more you try to please everyone, the more you become no one. You forget who you are. You lose the ability to decide without overthinking. You hesitate, you doubt, you shrink, and eventually your life belongs more to others than to you. The Stoic path teaches that power comes from self-mastery, not popularity. It's about being grounded in your own reason, rather than tossed around by every passing opinion. When you stop needing validation, you become calm, focused, and unshakable. You do what is right, not what is rewarded. True power is quiet. It doesn't beg to be seen or applauded. It simply acts with courage, with clarity, with purpose. So if you feel the urge to seek approval, pause. Take a breath. Ask yourself, is this aligned with who I truly am, or am I just trying to be liked? That question alone can set you free. What did Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, and Seneca say about approval? The Stoic philosophers weren't just thinkers, they were observers of human weakness. And one of the greatest weaknesses they pointed out, the need for approval. They saw it as a distraction from virtue, a threat to reason, and a slow form of slavery. Epictetus said it bluntly, if you want to be free, don't wish for things to happen as you wish, but wish for them to happen as they do. In other words, stop craving outcomes, including praise. Freedom begins where the need for approval ends. Marcus Aurelius, writing in his private journal, which later became Meditations, reminded himself constantly, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And what's more outside than someone's opinion? Seeking validation is to chase shadows. It's to let someone else's perception define your inner world. Seneca, perhaps the most practical Stoic, wrote, a man who follows someone else not only does not find anything, he is not even looking. When your compass is always someone else's approval, you stop navigating your own course. You stop thinking. You stop living. For the Stoics, the only approval that mattered was self-approval grounded in virtue. Did I act justly? Did I respond with wisdom? Did I remain courageous under pressure? These were the only questions worth asking. They weren't antisocial or arrogant. They simply understood that living for applause leads to emptiness. Even worse, it makes you easy to manipulate. The person who can't live without praise is the person who will bend for it. So take this Stoic truth with you. Approval is cheap. Character is priceless. Build a life that's right, not a life that's liked. The silent cost of pleasing others, the desire to be liked, seems harmless until it starts costing you everything. At first, it's subtle. You hold back your true thoughts in a conversation. You agree just to avoid tension. You go along with something that doesn't sit right with you. all because you don't want to cause trouble. And the world rewards you for being agreeable, polite, easy to manage. But underneath that praise is a price. You lose pieces of yourself. The Stoics warned about this often. Seneca wrote, "What progress have I made? I have begun to be a friend to myself. That is the key." You cannot be a true friend to yourself if you are constantly betraying your values for the comfort of others. When you live to please, you start to shrink. You downplay your strengths to avoid envy. You avoid risks to avoid judgment. You become agreeable at the expense of truth, and over time, you forget what your own voice even sounds like. Worse, pleasing others often breeds resentment. You start to feel used and seen. Exhausted, you gave so much of yourself away that now you're running on fumes. And the people you tried to please, most won't even notice, or worse, they'll take your silence as permission to keep using you. The Stoic path is not about being rude or indifferent. It's about being rooted. It's about having a spine, not just a smile. It's about living according to your principles. Even when it's uncomfortable, you're not here to please everyone. You're here to live with courage, truth, and integrity. And ironically, the people who truly respect you, the ones worth keeping, will be drawn to your strength, not your submission. So next time you feel the urge to say yes when your soul is screaming no, pause. Ask yourself, am I pleasing them or betraying me? Validation versus true respect, knowing the difference. Validation and respect may look alike on the surface, but at their core, they couldn't be more different. Validation is often quick, shallow, and conditional. It's someone liking your post, complimenting your outfit, or clapping when you say what they want to hear. It feeds your ego but not your soul. Fleeting, one misstep, one unpopular opinion, and that validation disappears. True respect, on the other hand, is slow, it's earned, it's rooted in consistency, character, and conviction. It doesn't come from saying what people want, it comes from doing what's right. Even when it's hard, the Stoics never sought validation. They lived in alignment with their values. Even when it meant criticism or exile. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, yet he still wrote in his journal to remind himself that the crowd's opinion meant nothing if he wasn't living with reason and virtue. Seneca warned, a good character, when established, is not easily overthrown, and Epictetus reminded us, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. They understood that real respect comes not from being agreeable but from being authentic. It's built through discipline, honesty, and unshakable self-respect. Here's how you know the difference. If people admire you because you tell them what they want to hear, that's validation. If they admire you even when you tell hard truths or stand alone, that's respect. Validation asks, what do they think of me? Respect asks, what do I stand for? So stop chasing validation, it's a moving target. Instead, cultivate the kind of integrity that earns real respect. Quiet, steady, lasting. And when you walk with that kind of inner dignity, you won't need to beg for applause. You'll already have your own. The power of internal standards. The moment you stop living by other people's expectations and start living by your own principles, you become dangerous in the best way possible. Why? Because you're no longer swayed by trends, gossip, or public opinion. You've built something stronger, internal standards. Standards that are rooted in reason, in virtue, in your personal code, not in praise or approval. The Stoics were clear about this. Marcus Aurelius wrote, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. If your thoughts are always about pleasing others, your soul takes on the color of fear and neediness. But if your thoughts are rooted in discipline, wisdom, and courage, your soul becomes unshakable. When you set your own internal standards, you no longer need applause to feel worthy. You don't need to impress to feel valuable. You know what matters to you. You know what you will tolerate and what you won't. This is the true source of power. It's not loud. It's not performative. It's deeply private. It's the voice inside that says, I will speak the truth, even if it costs me. I will work with discipline, even when no one is watching. I will hold to my principles, even if I stand alone. These are the standards that shape character. They are not given to you by society, they are forged through thought, reflection, and hard-won clarity. And once you have them, you become free. Because now, you are no longer a prisoner of praise. You are no longer chasing fleeting validation. You are led, not pushed. You are anchored, not blown around. Live by internal standards. And you won't just impress others, you'll inspire them, building a Stoic mindset of self-approval. The Stoics didn't teach arrogance, they taught autonomy. They believed that true peace comes from self-approval, not public applause. And the good news is, this mindset can be built. It's not inherited, it's trained. So, how do you begin? First, practice solitude. The world is noisy, but wisdom is found in silence. Take time daily to step away from the crowd, not to isolate, but to reconnect with your inner compass. In solitude, you ask the deeper questions. Am I living with courage? Am I avoiding comfort at the cost of truth? Second, journal regularly, just like Marcus Aurelius did. Don't write for anyone else. Write for yourself. Capture your flaws, your progress, your inner battles. You'll start to see patterns. You'll learn what truly matters to you, not what others expect. Third, affirm your values, not your image. Each morning, remind yourself, I am not here to be liked. I am here to live with purpose. That shift changes everything. You stop asking, do they see me? And start asking, did I act with integrity today? Fourth, be prepared to be misunderstood. As Epictetus warned, growth often comes with the cost of being seen as strange, foolish, or difficult. That's not failure, that's freedom. When you no longer fear judgment, you gain power that can't be bought or borrowed. Fifth, surround yourself with those who sharpen your mind, not flatter your ego. Validation addicts keep enablers around. Stoics seek challenge, truth, and people who help them grow. Self-approval isn't pride, it's clarity. It's knowing who you are, what you stand for, and walking that path with or without applause. Because the moment you truly approve of yourself, not from ego, but from reason and virtue, the opinions of others become noise, not direction. That is the Stoic mindset, and that is where unshakable peace begins. When to listen and when to ignore feedback. Not all opinions are worthless, but not all are worth listening to either. The Stoic path teaches discernment, knowing when feedback is truth and when it's just noise. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. In the same way, if someone's opinion disturbs your peace, it means you've given it too much power. So, how do you know when to listen? Ask yourself, is this person grounded in wisdom, or just reacting emotionally? Are they offering thoughtful guidance, or just projecting their own fears? Does their feedback align with reason, or is it tied to ego and control? The Stoic doesn't reject all feedback, but he filters it. He listens to mentors, not mockers. He welcomes correction from those who are virtuous, not applause from those who seek to control. Marcus Aurelius, even as emperor, wrote, if anyone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. For it is the truth I seek, not to be always right. That's humility with strength. That's what we aim for. But if the opinion comes from envy, gossip, or shallow minds, it's discarded immediately. As Seneca said, we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Most of the time, it's not even their opinion that harms you, it's your own fear of being disliked. The Stoic way is this: listen with reason, not emotion. Weigh feedback by truth, not volume. Accept correction only when it aligns with your values, not when it flatters your need to be liked. When you master that balance, you become unshakable. The world can speak, but only you decide what enters your soul. You came into this world complete, whole, worthy, but somewhere along the way, the world taught you to doubt that, to perform, to seek permission, to chase applause. But the Stoics remind us, you never needed validation to begin with. Validation is addictive, but it's hollow. One moment it fills you, the next it disappears. It keeps you stuck in a cycle of dependency, bending your identity to please those who may never even truly see you. But when you choose the Stoic path, you choose something different. You choose internal standards over public praise. You choose quiet strength over loud approval. You choose to walk alone not because you have to, but because you've learned how. You don't need to be seen to be strong. You don't need to be praised to be powerful. You just need to be rooted in your principles, in your purpose, in your peace. As Marcus Aurelius said, it is in your power to withdraw yourself whenever you desire. Perfect tranquility consists in the good ordering of the mind, the realm within you. So stop asking, do they like me? Start asking, am I proud of the life I'm living? If the answer is yes, walk on. Head high. Alone if necessary. Because that's where real freedom lives. If you found value in this message, subscribe to the Stoic Voice. Here, we don't chase trends, we pursue timeless truth. Let's walk this path of inner power, self-discipline, and unshakable peace together. Subscribe now, and remember, you don't need to be validated. You just need to be true.